if you're Joe Scarborough and you're on MSNBC every day and you know, you've got a lady friend that I guess is now your wife who's out there shouting fascism, fascism, fascism from the rooftops.
Yeah. And guys, here's the warning. You all have set it up, but let me take it a step further, please, if I may. Mm-hmm. This is called normalization.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. This is the descent into fascism, if we so choose.
Okay. So that was like 2 days before the election. And Joe Scarborough, her husband, was, you know, equally worried. But I want to show you what he's saying now. It's kind of like Morning Joe has now recognized that it's morning in America and he's going to totally change his MO. He is a new man. I'm not buying it. And I actually think it's super Machiavellian and a little bit weird, but all of a sudden he's out there trying to talk common sense. Watch.
The Washington Post, Matt Bai, writes in part, I do think the prosecutions fed a narrative of Trump as a victim. I also think Democrats dug themselves into a hole on cultural issues and identity politics. Trump's vicious transgender ad in the closing weeks, she's for they, them, he's for you, was probably the most effective of the cycle. I think that probably landed with a lot of traditionally Democratic voters who feel like the party is consumed with the cultural issues, while the economic issues don't really change. I think people needed a reason to feel good and hopeful about voting for her, and absent that, a lot of frustrated voters apparently decided to go with the guy who wants to burn it all down.
Let's dig a little deeper, because you have that stacked on top of what happened on college campuses this fall, stacked on top of what's been happening on college campuses over the past 4 or 5 years. I have said this on the air. And every time I've said it, people said, oh, you're just saying that because you're a white conservative. No, I'm just saying it because every Democrat that we have ever...
He's conservative?
...sat down with dinner with over the past 5 years who have kids that go to colleges say their kids are afraid to speak in class because they'll be canceled.
Yeah, duh. So he starts going on with this, okay? Kids are afraid to speak in class because they'll be canceled. And these are Democrats that are afraid to speak. I mean, they're afraid to speak because let's be very clear. You were the guy out there telling everybody that if they had a different point of view on anything, that they were somehow the problem. Well, though this is like the reincarnation of Joe Scarborough, ladies and gentlemen. We are watching in real time a complete turnaround. Here he is again, trying to sound normal.
The Washington Post, Matt Bai, writes in part, I do think...
And they're all Democrats. Everybody that we've had dinner with, if they have a kid in college, you go, how are the Red Sox going? Yeah, fine, yeah. Sitting there eating. Oh, you know, beautiful day today, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, my daughter at University of Virginia, she's afraid to raise her hand in class because if she says something that's politically incorrect, she will immediately be canceled. She'll be shunned from class. She'll be destroyed in social media by noon. So they just sit in class quiet. Now, if any of you, which camera? Give me a camera to look at. Boom! Oh, look at that one. If any of you out there say, oh, that's just like a conservative, white, Southern guy, da-da-da, that's what you're losing. That's what you're losing. Because that's what I heard. And I didn't hear it from Republicans. I didn't hear it from Trumpers. I heard it from Democrats over the past 3 or 4 years. Their kids were afraid to talk in class and say something unpopular because they would be canceled. And it's an epidemic. Willie will tell you it happens in New York.
The Washington Post, Matt Bai, writes...
Yeah.
We still have an electorate, 70 million plus. We still have an electorate, 70 million plus that will be voting for a man who said he was going to assassinate for treason the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he didn't support him on January the 6th, who has said just in recent days he was going to execute Liz Cheney with a firing squad, 9 guns pointed and shooting at her face. A man who has said that he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited an interview. A man who said he was going to be a dictator from day one. A man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution. A man who said he was going to use the Army and he was going to use the National Guard on his political opponents. I literally could go on all day. And
okay, and you did. You went on all day, every single day, Joe, okay? And now you want to say, oh, it's the problem of we leaned in too hard to the trans thing. We were too tough on speech. You think? You think? I mean, think about the media coverage itself. Our friends over at Media Research Center did some work on this. Democrat coverage, 78% positive for the entire race. I mean, if you just look at Kamala, it was like 80-something, 90-something. 2024 GOP coverage, only 15% positive. So they actually had a 63-point advantage. They actually had a massive advantage, and they still couldn't win it. So it's kind of remarkable, I guess. People like Scarborough are waking up saying, okay, what went wrong? Well, maybe we need to tack in a different direction. I think you do, guys. I think you do, but it's not just Scarborough, right? It's the entire apparatus. It's all of the media. I got more because I need to show you the fight that's unfolding there in real time on The View. I mean, they're going back to being the fighting ladies there on The View because they were always getting kind of boring, right? They were just in sync about how much they hated Donald Trump. But before I do, you may have seen that the Federal Reserve announced it is cutting rates by another quarter point. Listen, any way you slice this, and I think it's going to be great to have Donald Trump there, and we're going to have some really good economic policies. It's one of the reasons why I think more than ever you want to be investing right now. But any way you slice it, we still are doing a lot of money printing, and you still have a lot of nations around the world saying, hey, wait a second, is there a way for me to diversify out of the US dollar? And so central banks are increasingly going to gold. Well, if you're interested in going to gold and diversifying your portfolio through gold, I encourage you to call my friends over at American Hartford Gold. You can text my name and get more information about the free silver offer. For qualifying offers, you can get up to $15,000 right now in free silver. Just text Trish, T-R-I-S-H, to 65532 or call them at 1-844-495-1115, 1-844-495-1115. Or you can just go to Trish Loves Gold, trishlovesgold.com, because you can't forget that.